Bibliosophie. Coucou, Max. Greetings from Curacao. I am not reading very much, quite frankly, but the two books I have with me that I'm not reading are Polly Barton's 50 Sounds and Clarice Lispector's The Chandelier. I read approximately, I think I said 5 to 10 pages of this on the beach the other day and absorbed exactly 0% of it. I have to start over. No, I absorbed maybe 20% of it. And this I've read about not quite 100 pages thereof, mostly on the plane. That's it. That's the update for now. I just passed my dissertation proposal defense. So my subject is approved and my methodology for writing my dissertation is approved. Now I just have to write it. I'm looking very cute and estival. I did, by the way, bring another shirt other than this one. This hat is ridiculously large on me. It's cute.
Funny.
Please, may we pass? Last morning swim, we head back out to New York this afternoon. Tomorrow I have a PET scan, which feels very surreal. And she's back in New York. I am wearing more blush than I intended, but we're gonna roll with it. It's cute. It's part of my giant baby painter look, I guess, that I've got going on. I didn't vlog a lot, now did I? I was too busy enjoying myself, which is lovely. And also, it is embarrassing as hell to vlog in front of your significant other, so that was a factor. But it's really because I was out and about in the sun. It was gorgeous. I've never been anywhere tropical. I've never been to the Caribbean before, and so it was all very, very novel to me. I was able to swim in the ocean basically every day, and I haven't been able to do that in a while. And so that was just very good for me physically, but also so good for me mentally. I hiked up a damn mountain. It involved even like some climbing. It was not easy. And 2 months ago, I needed to sit down while brushing my teeth because lifting my arm above heart level was too physically strenuous. I wasn't able to go upstairs. So I'm feeling really, really good. Yesterday I had a PET scan, as I mentioned, and it's looking really good. Next week, or I guess technically the very beginning of the week after, but next week there's a ramp up. I'm starting my new big, potentially curative treatment. And I'm excited. I'm excited because it could really work. I'm in really good shape for it to work. The PET scan has really positive results from that vantage point. I'm physically really in great shape, recovering from my various cycles of chemo. And so I'm feeling really, really optimistic. Yeah, fingers crossed. You know, you can't know, but I'm feeling good. And that is good. Reading. I did some, not much, as I mentioned. I am almost done with 50 Sounds by Polly Barton. I did most of that reading actually in the plane. When I was in Curacao, I was reading really in like tiny spurts. This is memoir, basically, of Barton's relationship to Japanese. Barton is a Japanese translator as well as an author in English. You have potentially read her translations of Japanese if you've read English translations of Japanese that have come out recently, because she has several. And this is her love letter to the language. It's her love letter to being in love with a language. It's kind of her manifesto about what it means to immerse yourself in a language and to fall head over heels, to just kind of lose yourself in an immersion. It's a snapshot of her life, partially also just after university, moving to Japan to teach English, not knowing Japanese or barely any, and being forced to learn in a total immersion situation, and how that kind of rewired her. And that is really interesting. That's also why it's 50 Sounds, because she's really focusing on the onomatopoeia of Japanese and the mimetic aspect, the embodied aspect of language learning and language being, essentially being in language. For me, it's really interesting as somebody who's bilingual, because I learned English quite young, very young. And so there was a time in my life when I was only monolingual, but that was as a child. I was completely fluent in English by the time I was 10. And French does remain my home language in many ways. It is literally my home language. It's the only language I speak with my family, but also it's often the language that I speak in when I'm half asleep in the morning. If I'm dreaming in a language, it will often be French. Despite how fluent and comfortable I am in English, French still does remain a home language. However, because I learned English so young, I never had this sort of adult immersion and this complete breaking of assumptions about who I am and how language works, how communication works. I see it, however, regularly in my students. When I teach French, I see a lot of Anglophone students or other monolingual students kind of have this moment of, ooh, what, why? They bristle at some difference that they thought was impossible. They take for granted that communication is going to be done in a certain way, that language works a certain way, but that's not true, of course. Language is a system, it's a structure, it's invented. And I see that discomfort, I see that disorientation, I see that kind of breaking. I have not felt it. And it is because I was so young. It's also, I think, because English and French are not so far from each other. I've never immersed myself completely in a language that was completely disparate. I have learned German. I cannot speak it. I'm not good at it. I'm always afraid of German. But similarly, I've not kind of been fully immersed. I've learned Italian, which I'm pretty good at. But I haven't felt that disorientation, and because I really just think in French when I'm in Italy. The closest is learning Mandarin in China. So there was that a little bit. I was sort of immersed in it, and definitely very different, but I didn't feel that kind of bristling. Maybe it's because I'm not coming from a completely monolingual perspective. Maybe it's just a difference of personality type, but I haven't felt that kind of undoing and redoing of self that Barton is talking about in part. For all of you out there who have either learned fluently another language or immerse yourself in another language, and especially as an adult specifically, I'm really curious if you fall more on the camp of, yes, I have a different personality, I've found myself completely kind of broken into a different facet in a new language upon learning it, or no, I feel like there's a continuum of self with, you know, different mores and different linguistic habits, because I'm definitely more on that camp. So I'd like to know where you fall. Speaking of breaking yourself apart and playing with language, Clarice Lispector, I wrote this morning a little reading update, reading diary for my Substack, so check it out if you're interested. And there's a lot of Clarice Lispector in the first part of March. I've not gotten very far in the Chandelier. Hey, guess what? It reads a lot like a Lispector novel, so it's not terribly shocking. I'm not grasping onto it fully, which happens for me regularly with Lispector. It's also a bit too long. I think I have this block for myself, maybe. I've said it before, I'm afraid of it because it looks too long. I think I've decided that a Lispector novel should be under 200 pages because otherwise it will be overwhelming. So I'm maybe doing it a disservice, but it does feel a little long. That's fine. I have no idea if it will take me a couple more days to finish or if it will take me 3 months to finish. I can never know with her. And I also read the first set of stories in the complete short story collection in English. This is her early stories, this is her juvenilia. Some of which I'd read before, some of which I hadn't, and some of which really struck me as very, very interesting. The one that I probably latched onto most was Letters to Hermengardo, which is a short epistolary story. And for me, it really has a lot of the seeds of Lispectorism. She's really hitting on so many of the themes that she talks about more at length in her novel. So to me, that was like this very, very interesting playing ground. And I also found very interesting Obsession, which is a longer short story, which is about an affair. And to me, it seemed like a very interesting companion piece to an apprenticeship because there's a somewhat similar dynamic at play of this woman being with this intellectual man who seems kind of like above her in a power dynamic. But whereas in an apprenticeship, they come together in this much more constructive, interesting for the woman way. In Obsession, it's very, very destructive. So amongst other things, that story to me felt like a very interesting companion piece. We'll see how long I get into this chunk. I would like to at some point finish all of these stories. So we'll see. I'm gonna try to finish 50 Sounds before the weekend is out. I am pretty close to done. This also feels rather too long, actually. So maybe I'm just, feeling like things are too long currently. That's your mega update.
It has to look like it. Yeah, it has to look like you cropped it up on something. That's my whole ass aesthetic.
I am filming you, Bunny.
Should we walk towards the grammar scene?
It's Sunday and I'm going to do a last little update before closing out the vlog. First of all, unrelated to reading, I've been printing out some photos of Curacao. I am really enjoying printing out photos this year. I got myself a little printer. I've been asked by a couple of people, so I'll tell you. I have a Kodak Mini 2. It's not extraordinary picture quality, but it's kind of not really the purpose. Yeah, it's just nice to have little photos that I then either keep in books or things or paste into my journal. Yeah, I mean, look, revolutionary. I discovered physical media, but we're liking physical media. It is really, I think for me this year, important. I've always liked things and physical media, but I am falling in love with physical media even more than before again. So, and that includes printing out shitty little snapshots more often. I finished 50 Sounds yesterday and I started Stag Dance by Torrey Peters. I've mentioned this on this channel before because I got an arc of it, and having read Detransition Baby a couple of years ago when it came out, I was really interested in reading this next Torrey Peters book. And so I started that last night. It was waiting for me when I got back from vacation, including also with little promotional swag. I don't know if I can rock the camo. I don't know. You tell me. Should I become a camo boy? I'm not sure. But so far I've read the first 2 stories of this. This includes 3 short stories and a novel. At least that's how they're formulating it. The first story is quite long, and it's actually also a novella. I don't know if it's exactly the same or if it's been shortened, but Infect Your Friends and Loved Ones was already something I was planning to read of Peters. It's on my Storygraph to read list, actually. So I've been interested in that for a while, and I was really happy to see that it's the first of this book. It's kind of crazy. It's this sort of dystopic, I guess, future in which something has happened that makes it so that everyone has to have a conscious choice in gender. And yeah, it was, I really liked it. I also read the second story, The Chaser, which was uncomfortable. In general, this is really entertaining and interesting and also like kind of dark. And it's offering a very interesting take on relationships and gender and sexuality, transness as a lens for analyzing transness, but also other kind of interpersonal issues. So I've really been enjoying this collection so far. The other book that was waiting for me when I got back from publisher, and this is out by Random House, and this is also Random House, was a finished copy of Universality by Natasha Brown. I literally flipped a coin last night as to decide if I was gonna do this one or that one. So I decided to read this first, and I'll probably read this next, actually. I also mentioned this on this channel previously. Having read Assembly previously, I'm very interested in this Natasha Brown book as well, and so I'm glad to have a finished copy of it. It's quite short, and I don't actually know anything about it. So I'll go in blind and enthusiastic. Other books that were waiting for me. This is going to be a very short little book haul. I'm not going to talk long about the books. One of them is Solenoid, which I ordered for myself. I've been interested in this book for quite a while already, but the International Booker long list kind of reminded me of it. It's a chunker. The font is also relatively small, so this is gonna be a long haul. I also ordered for myself the book of Disappearance, which is also part of the International Booker long list this year. That's another title that caught my eye. I haven't received it. I don't know why, but I ordered them at the same time. I don't know. I got one, not the other, but I'm quite interested to read it at some point soon as well. I also had 2 bits of book mail from an internet acquaintance. I don't think Petya has a YouTube, but she does have a Substack that I will link, because if you like books and you like reading about reading, I think you will probably like The Reading Life, which is her Substack and is a lot of fun. She sent me a care package that included, amongst other things, 2 books. 84 Charing Cross Road is a book I've actually read before a couple of years ago. It's a lovely book for people who like reading. It's very much a love letter to books in a lot of ways. I didn't own it, so I'm glad to own it. It's not impossible I'll read it again. And also, speaking of international Booker Prize, this won the Booker Prize in 2023. Georgi Gospodinov's Time Shelter, which I didn't know anything about. I still don't know the story of it so much, but I'm quite interested in reading it soon as well. So thank you. That's quite lovely. More things waiting for me from my mother, who brought me back some books from France. I requested Les Mandarins, Simone de Beauvoir. I mentioned wanting to read more or any Beauvoir fiction this year. And this is, long, but it's also the big kind of, if you're gonna read a Beauvoir fiction, you may as well read the thing that won her the Prix Goncourt. We'll see when I get to it. Simone, why can't you write shorter things? I'm a little bit overwhelmed by how long it is. I also have 2 Cixous books. I requested specifically L'Heure de Clarice Lispector, which is Cixous' analysis of Lispector. So I've been wanting to read this for a long time. I requested it. She ordered it from our local bookstore and brought it back to me. She also brought me Promethea, Le Livre de Promethea, the Book of Promethea. It is translated into English, and I assume that is the title of it. And I don't know anything about this book, but I'm intrigued. It's very much, I think, about gender and writing. It tends often to be. The duality of writing. So it's straight up my alley. Some more Lispector. I requested from my aunt's library a couple of books, and so my mother brought me back Eine Lehre, an apprenticeship in German. I don't know if I will read this in German. I could at this point because I've now read it both in French and in English, so my German isn't extraordinary, but it's good enough that having read this book already twice in 2 other languages, I could probably read it in German as well, but mostly it's just for having the object. She brought me back something that's not going to be of interest to you per se, but is of interest to me. Writings on Music by Alban Berg. I don't know when I will get to it, we'll see. An anthology of poetry. I requested that she just sort of pick some things a little bit at random to surprise me, and it was really lovely to arrive to such surprises, including actually also this, what is this called? Shirt. Because I'm always looking for more collared shirts, and we have tons in France. And so just pick from basically go shopping in your family's hand-me-downs. That's also my recommendation to you. And finally, basically a picture book. This is Mircea. This is a story of a cat illustrated by Baltus, who's a weirdo and a creep, but draws a good cat with a text by Rilke. And it is actually quite a beautiful, basically picture book. It has a kind of introductory text, and then it's just pictures. So that was fun to find. Is that all? That's gonna have to be all. I need to wrap this guy up. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I may or may not record in the next few weeks. We'll see how I'm feeling. I have no idea, but yeah, right now I'm feeling happy and enthusiastic. Ciao.